Paddington in Peru. It just came out. It didn't just come out. It came out in England back in November, like 3 months ago.
Wow.
And it just made it to the States. They always come out early over there, but it came out to the States.
Did they row it across the ocean? Like, what was the...
I know. Yeah. I don't know what they do. They It's in a submarine or in a marmalade jar that they hope they throw into the water, and they hope it just travels to the States. But it has arrived in our movie theaters, and I saw it last night, and I'll give a non-spoiler review. I'll try to keep this concise, but overall thoughts, I really enjoyed it. I think it had a lot of really good moments. I would definitely say it is the weakest Paddington in the trilogy.
Oh, no!
Though it's still a good, fun movie that I enjoyed. I did not expect it to be better than Paddington 2, because Paddington 2 is a masterpiece. So my expectations were not that high. And because they were not that high, I left the movie theater knowing that, they gave it a good shot, and it's a good way to wrap up the Paddington story if they no longer come out with more. But this is directed by Dougal Wilson, starring Ben Whishaw as Paddington, Emily Mortimer as Mary Brown, Hugh Bonneville as Henry Brown, and Madeline Harris and Samuel Jocelyn as Judy and Jonathan Brown, introducing Antonio Banderas as Hunter Cabot and Carla Toos, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, as Gina Tabbitt, his daughter, and Olivia Colman as Reverend Mother. The story: Paddington returns to Peru to visit his beloved Aunt Lucy at the home for retired bears, but he finds out Aunt Lucy has gone missing, and it's up to Paddington and the Brown family to find her. Jamie, I know you said you were going to try to watch this last night. You weren't able to, but how high on your must-see list was this film?
Oh, it's pretty up there. So, like I said, like I've said before, I take my kids to the movies every Tuesday because we're the AMC, A-listers or whatever. On Tuesdays, we get discounted movies, and that's when I take them. So, I think Desi's going to love it. Were you able to take your daughter?
No. I dare not take my daughter until she's like at least little. 4 years old, 5 years old.
You enjoyed it for her.
Yes. I'm gonna, after this podcast, I'm going to put her in front of the laptop and then let her watch this portion just so she knows how good the movie is. So just so she gets an idea if she wants to watch it. So she's going to learn about it through this podcast, through the Hub on Hollywood, good. Which you should subscribe to and follow anywhere you get your podcast. But like I said, overall, a good film. I think the plot of this film is really good. Paddington and the Brown family on a rescue mission in the Amazon rainforest with shady characters hoping to use Paddington to help find this lost treasure. So, you have this rescue mission and you have this treasure that needs to be found. I did enjoy the new setting of this being in Peru. This movie's taking place in a much different place than London. Completely polar opposite. So that was fun, though I will admit I do miss some of the London aesthetics, the feel of the first two movies, but this was a nice change because, we complain often of the sequels are just similar or repeats of the first movies. So I appreciate that they went with it in a totally new direction, new setting. I love that choice. Peru, the jungle, the set, costume designs looked great, just as good on the same level as Paddington 1 and Paddington 2 when it comes to the colors, to the set designs, to the natural settings and places where they shot. Beautiful. So no complaints there. Olivia Colman, she plays Reverend Mother. One of the bigger highlights of the film, she is chewing up every scene she's in. You can tell how much fun she's having in this, whether she's being sneaky, suspicious, or having a song and dance number. She was fantastic. Plenty of laughs, I would say, throughout this film. A number of times where I'm smiling, laughing out loud. So plenty of humor for kids and adults. Antonio Banderas, as I mentioned, he plays an Amazon riverboat captain along with his daughter. However, he has ulterior motives. Now, this is a non-spoiler review, but I think the trailer kind of gives away that, some of these characters are kind of shady. You got to watch your back. His daughter is also a big part of the crew, so it's like a two-man daughter-father crew boat tourism kind of thing they have going on. She's trying to rebuild her relationship, so that part was fun. Jamie, however, can't ignore some of the cons of this film. Some things that, if they were a little bit different, would have made this movie even more enjoyable. You heard about the whole mom recasting thing, right? Or no?
Yeah, you talked about that before, right? So it's with a new actress. Was it that much of a difference?
I'm afraid to say yes. I'm not saying Emily Mortimer, who replaced Sally Hawkins, did not do a good job. It's just that I miss Sally Hawkins. She is Mrs. Brown, the mom, and like her personality, her little mannerisms, and just her big smile and personality. I definitely missed it. She unfortunately could not film Paddington 3 because, as I mentioned, they were literally in Peru, and she couldn't travel because of an illness, unfortunately. And so Emily Mortimer stepped in. She did well, but again, I just couldn't help but miss Sally Hawkins' original version of the mom. Another part, I felt the family wasn't as utilized as well as in the previous films when it comes to like setting up things that they're into. They do that, but it didn't feel as fleshed out in previous films. And so the family were all there. They didn't all equally do things as compared to the previous films when it came to helping the story move along or helping the mission. Though again, they're fun to watch. The biggest gripe, however, unfortunately, I hate to say this, Jamie.
Oh, no.
Antonio Banderas.
Oh, no.
I know. He's having a great time filming this movie. You can tell he's enjoying playing the sneaky riverboat captain, as well as playing a variety of other characters, which I won't reveal immediately. But I do say that he may have been miscast. And without going into spoilers, I know. Again, he's having a great time. He's doing the best that he can. However, I couldn't help but feel like maybe there was another actor who could have given a little more, could have been more convincing, who could have carried the character. Again, the character's traits are good. The story, the plot, the motives, I'm all on board for. I'm just not quite sure if Antonio Banderas was the right person. And I kept thinking, who could have been? And who popped in my head, unironically, was Pedro Pascal. I think Pedro Pascal would have done a great job as the riverboat captain, or it could have been too meta for the film, just because, as we know, in the movie The Unbelievable Weight of Massive Talent, he plays a character who loves Paddington 2. So that could have been a conflict of interest for moviegoers like myself. Again, Antonio Banderas, he's having a great time, and I think he's giving as much effort as Hugh Grant did in Paddington 2, which I appreciate, but I don't know. I'm not sure if it quite worked. So that's my only gripe. Soto. I know, but Olivia Colman, she plays another shady character. She's fantastic in this film. Mr. Brown, the actor who plays Mr. Brown, he's great in this film. He got several big laughs from myself. Paddington, nothing needs to be said about Paddington. He's perfect. So that character development on Lucy, that whole development, and the way this movie ended, I think is a great way to, again, if this is the last movie, great way to put a bow on the story of these characters. There wasn't as much emotional tugging that I felt in parts 1 and 2, especially in part 2, though it does go in that direction, and you do feel like, kind of a little moment of welling, but then, it just doesn't punch as hard as the previous movies. Right. You don't need that, I guess, apparently. I don't know if I was looking to cry in this movie, but it just wasn't there. But again, I'm not trying to bash this movie. It's a fun movie. I think families, kids, parents will enjoy it. Plenty of laugh out loud moments. It looks beautiful. The story itself is solid, I think. So don't take any of the cons, little issues that I had from preventing you to watching this movie, from supporting this movie. So Jamie, I still highly recommend you watch this film with your children, and I don't think you'll leave disappointed.
Wonderful. I love to hear it. The world needs more perfect trilogies, right? or close to perfect trilogies.
This is a solid trilogy. Again, like even Star Wars. Star Wars. People say the Return of the Jedi is the weakest of the three, but entirely it's a great trilogy. For the Lord of the Rings films, some of them, they're all great. They're all really good, but some prefer. Some would say, 1, 2, or 3 is the weaker one of the other ones. So, again, nothing's perfect, but you can still have a great trilogy, and I would still say this is a great trilogy. I would put that in the hallmark, in the Hall of Fame, on the wall of great trilogy.